Today in Boomtown, we dissect the local NIMBY movement. Phil Lindeman with Krystal, 93 News. First, the internet is a wild and unpredictable place, and that's why guys like Byron Rice are hard at work behind the circuit board.
It's such a digital world anymore. It really doesn't matter where you are in this world.
Rice is Summit County's Information Systems Director. He keeps computers safe and information safer for the entire county, from property values and real estate transactions to tax info for every resident. It's a job that's more important than ever, especially with recent scares like the Equifax breach, when personal info for more than 145 million Americans was hacked.
Just be cautious about your personal information because it can be used against you.
How can you be safe anywhere online? First, delete strange emails and social messages. When in doubt, throw it out, Rice says. Second, don't use free Wi-Fi for banking or other sensitive info, even if that Wi-Fi is in downtown Breckenridge or on the slopes of Keystone. And third, be cautious, just like you would in real life, face-to-face interactions.
Don't be complacent. Use your spidey senses.
For even more cybersecurity tips from the experts, listen to our full interview with Rice on the Krystal 93 YouTube page. That's Krystal with a K. Earlier this week, we asked Krystal 93 listeners on Facebook to answer a question about traffic. How often do you drive over Hoosier Pass? Replies are split nearly in half for daily travel, with 40% saying they drive over the pass for work. That number, though, jumps to 100% for play. Every last one of our survey takers said Hoosier fits into travel plans. Today in our Boomtown series, the struggle for low-income families in high-income times. NIMBY. It stands for Not in My Backyard, and it's a common refrain anytime new housing and other changes are proposed in Summit County. With 50,000 new residents moving to Colorado each year, the NIMBY movement now stretches far beyond small mountain towns. The local population in Summit has always been transitional, from young ski resort employees to visitors simply passing through on vacation. But there's a growing segment of the year-round population that's struggling to simply pay rent, and it's dominated by minorities.
For folks that are at the lower end of the economic system, for lack of a better word, in our community, their struggle might be just finding a place to live, period. Some of those struggles can often have a huge impact on our community in other ways.
That was Tamara Drongstveit, Executive Director for the Family Intercultural and Resource Center. The center helps minority and low-income families make ends meet, and they are working with more people than ever before. In 2016, about 14% of Summit's 30,000 residents were Hispanic, and many of those residents struggled. Drongstveit says a 4-person family in 2014 was spending about 40% of its income on housing to live comfortably. By now, 3 years later, that number is closer to 60% or higher for most residents. And that's just not sustainable for low-income homes.
When you're looking at growth of any kind, you have to be really careful to think about the long-term impact on some of our social service and healthcare and childcare and educational infrastructure.
This ripple effect can be devastating. When families spend most of their income on a roof, Drongstveit says it eats into other necessities like childcare, education, and food. It also places a burden on social services. To ease the burden, low-income families are often forced to cram more people into smaller spaces, and this comes with an entirely new set of issues.
I think what you see is that, particularly with folks that have a lower income, the challenges become much larger, and there's less of an ability for those challenges to be resolved in such a way that it's not going to have an impact on the overall system.
Drongstveit says that looking at the big picture is a must right now, especially if towns in the county want to grow sustainably. Without a plan to help the poorest of Summit's residents, the amenities locals love so much, and the opportunities that keep them here, could disappear.
That's what makes the term, quote, smart growth so incredibly important. And I think in Summit County, we have to be incredibly careful that we're measuring and weighing those kinds of impacts as we think about the growth of our overall community.
Tune in tomorrow for the final installment in our Boomtown series when we dig into the complicated realities of an aging population. Phil Lindeman with Krystal 93 News.